to show you how to make a sleeper sack for your baby, and we're starting off with a vest that fits loosely, and we're gonna lay it on, place it on pole here, and we're gonna cut the back. So we're following this line here. We added on 2 inches on the side, and we're gonna measure the length. Sorry, it's so shaky. The length of my baby is 22 inches. You want to add on 4 inches to that, so I'm going on to 26. And you cut there. With the 2 inches extra here, I cut off a slope, probably about 1 centimeter off from the tip here to here, to have a shoulder slope. And this is up to 26 inches here. Obviously, if according to the length of your baby, you just add 4 inches, so it will last a little longer, because babies grow fast. So you're going to measure half of the sleep sack up from the bottom. You're measuring half of it, and from there you're going to measure 1 inch off the edge. Draw a line and cut off that to taper it, and then you could just cut a curve on the bottom here so the toes wouldn't get caught in the corners. And that's the back. Then place 2 layers, pin the back onto 2 layers of fabric here, and we're going to cut around this. The same thing, we're going to cut around, and the only exception is we put in a zip at the front. Okay, so I cut off the front piece. This is the front neckline here. Against the back, it is, as you can see, is 1 inch lower than the back, and it lines up, the shoulder pieces line up as well. So make sure the shoulder piece is lining up, and you bring it down to 1 inch lower than the back. Okay, there are 2 ways to put on a zip, like this. We could put one with the flap on one side, or you could put the ones with the flap on both sides, like this. I'm going to show you the one with the flap on both sides. Place your zip on the edge of the front, line it up at the top, and here's where the base is. Now you're going to mark it off, let's see, right here. You're going to put a pin here, and you're going to stitch from here to the bottom, the 1 inch spacing that you left before. It says 1 inch here, 1 inch, and this is where the base of the zipper is going to be. So you're going to stitch with your back stitch here from this space here. You're going to continue your stitch. You're going to back stitch here, and you're going to continue with just a base machine stitch to way to the top, the same 1 inch. Don't back stitch here. You want this thread to be able to remove easily afterwards, so don't back stitch here or after the pin here. So this whole piece of thread will be able to remove easily afterward. I stitched in a different color so you can see what I'm doing. You have a back stitch here and up to where the pin was, which is here, and I made it the longest stitch on sewing machine, and I sewed it straight up to the top, and I didn't backstitch here. I left it open, leave the thread out everywhere. And now to show you how to place the zipper. All I did here was turn the front of the fabric face down, and this is the stitch I have here. I opened the seam and pressed it, and we're going to put the zipper now. We're going to line the zipper up at the top here. Make sure the middle, let me show you again here. The middle, the zipper head is in the middle of the seam, right? So the whole zipper body will be facing the seam. Okay, as you can see, I pinned the zipper. You can feel the zipper at the base of the seam. So for safety, take the pins and put it on the right side of the fabric so that while you are sewing you can remove them. And you want to feel for the stopper, the zipper stopper, the little metal thing there. I don't know what it's called. And you want to put a pin there so that you will not run over it with your sewing machine. You will damage your sewing machine. So you go down a half a centimeter after that pin and turn. So the stitch you're going to make with your zipper foot is down the side of the zipper. You come down here, you turn, you put the needle down, you turn, you come on this side, put the needle down, turn again, and you come straight back up, and you have your back stitches at the top here. Your next step now is to remove the stitch that you left open at the top. So as you can see, it's there. Use your seam ripper and get rid of that stitch. Alright, remove the stitch, and there we have our zipper down the middle, covered nicely. You did a great job. And you want to finish off the back, the raw edges. You could serge if you have a serger, or you can just run a zigzag stitch on the edge to finish off the front. Next step is to sew the back onto the front. Now we're going to add the shoulders first. Where is my back piece? Right sides facing together, and we're going to stitch the shoulders first, right, with half an inch on each side. Right, so you're going to measure around your neckline and armholes, and you want to cut some bias tape. You make your own bias tape with the same fabric. So you're going to take a square piece of fabric, you line square rectangle, and you're going to fold it at a right angle, and you're going to cut the pieces. So I got 3 pieces, one for the neck, one for the and 2 for the armholes. You're going to cut them on the bias so that you will have the stretch that you need to go around the curves. Right, I cut the bias tape 2 inches wide, and I started to pin it at the neckline. This is the zipper here, and we're leaving not much, leaving a little extra, let's say a centimeter extra on the end here, and you're gonna slightly pull and pin. You're slightly pulling the binding, the bias tape, not the neckline itself. So you're gonna slightly pull the tape around, and you're pinning. Continue to pin until you reach the end here. So I finished stitching the neckline. So at the neckline, it's a bit tricky at the zipper. Now this is the zipper in here. I stitched the bias tape coming down. This is on the right side together, and the extra piece that will be hanging here, you flip it over to the next side, and you stitch it down here as well. Let me get this in focus. Right, so you have the bias tape where you were stitching here, and you just flip it over to come on this side where the zipper is, and you stitch it at the top here. And this was 1/2 inch seam allowance. I cut it to 1/4 inch so it wouldn't have too much bulk in the bias tape. Now this will flip over like this, so it'll have a nice finished edge by the neckline. And now we're going to pin this. So to pin this is you fold the raw edge at the top of the bias tape to meet the seam allowance. So you're folding this way. This is a little bit hard to do with one hand. So you're folding it like this so it'll meet there, and then you're folding again, and you pin and you stitch. So when you stitch it, you will have a nice neckline. And you're doing that same step with the armholes. So the pins are in place. This is the zipper and this is the fold I just mentioned. So we did the pins and we didn't pin at the top here because this here will be too much for your sewing machine to go through unless you have a heavy duty machine, which is most likely not. So we're going to stitch. We're not stitching at the top on the bias here. We are actually going to stitch right below, right where the pin is there. That's where we're going to stitch, so that we wouldn't have much fabric to go through. After you have finished your stitch, it should look like this. There's the stitch under there, and this is where the zip. These are the armholes, right? And put the right sides together, pin and stitch. Oops, stitch 1/2 inch around the whole edge. This is just the bottom and the bottom here.